Biology students, in addition to watching this video, make sure that you take a look at your diagram sheet, the dissection guide, and also check your textbook, page 431, 432, specifically the section about squid. So again, diagram sheet, most helpful, dissection guide, most helpful, the textbook, pages 431, 432, and obviously this video as well.
You clicked on this video, so now you've got nobody else to blame when you watch me dissecting a squid, specifically a European or common squid, Loligo vulgaris. This one was caught in the North Sea. And there may be lots of videos on YouTube of people dissecting squid, but this is going to be the best one because I'm actually going to dissect 2 squid and then use the footage from both to show you whatever I want. So strap in, because we're going to get very squidly here. Now, let's start by looking at the limbs of the squid. A squid has 8 arms and 2 long tentacle clubs which it uses for hunting. And in between these limbs you see the mouthpiece of the squid, which is a beak. It uses its beak to crush the shells of crustaceans, which is the main food source of squid. Then you can see the large eyes, because most squid hunt in dark conditions. A lot of them are nocturnal. And now we want to see the internal organs of the squid. So we need to take some scissors and cut open the mantle. The mantle is the thick muscle that makes up the body wall. It's worth noting that this here at the bottom is the siphon, which ejects water and allows the squid to use jet propulsion to move itself and escape predators very quickly. It can also move itself by using its fins. The fins also stabilise the squid during jet propulsion in much the same way that fins stabilise a rocket during liftoff. Right, we're inside, let's have a look. So the first thing I'm going to point out are the gills. A squid has 2 of them. Each gill has its own heart, known as a branchial heart. And these hearts connect up to a main heart which circulates blood around the entire body, called the systemic heart. Yes, squid have a total of 3 hearts, aren't they lucky? Now the first structure you're probably interested in is the ink sac, because that's what squid are known for. Often when a squid escapes, it will do so by squirting out ink in the water that it uses to jet propel itself. And this ink is horrible and sticky. You can see it's leaking out. Embryologically speaking, it's just an outpouching from the gut. So let's have a look at that gut. The gut of a squid is very simple. It's an esophagus, which leads to a stomach, which leads to a cecum at the top next to this other structure here, which is the testis. I'll talk about that soon. And then it loops back round and becomes the anus. The waste products are then ejected out of the siphon, much like everything else. Let's have a look at the testis then. So we know this squid is a male because of this testis, which is a white bag at the top, which you can just about distinguish from the more yellowish cecum next to it, which we saw earlier. Now, if I clear away the testis to one side, you can see that it connects to another organ called the seminal vesicle, or the spermatophoric organ. And if we look inside this organ, we can see these weird tubules. These are spermatophores, which are basically bags of sperm. Squid sperm need to be in bags to protect them from the outside world, because squid have a very unusual way of mating, relative to us at least. The male will literally just stab a spermatophore into the female's mantle, like a little dart. The female will then hang on to this bag of sperm for whenever it needs to fertilise its eggs. So a female can have many spermatophores from many different males just hanging around like a storage. Now, because these spermatophores are sharp, there are quite a few cases in the medical literature of people trying to eat squids that are not quite dead and then end up having their tongue impregnated. It's quite painful by all accounts. So don't try and eat a live squid, it might try and mate with you. The next thing I want to show you are the blood vessels of the squid. Some of the blood vessels connecting the mantle to the systemic heart. And weirdly, it's transparent. Squid blood doesn't have any haemoglobin in it, so it's not red. What it has instead of haemoglobin is a different oxygen-carrying protein called hemocyanin, which is copper-based instead of iron-based. That means that oxygenated squid blood is a pale blue, whereas deoxygenated squid blood is colourless. And this squid has colourless blood because it's dead, so it's not going to be oxygenated, is it? The last thing I want to show you before we put some stuff under the microscope is what passes for a backbone in a squid. Obviously squid don't have any bones because they're invertebrates, but this is something similar. It's called the gladius, which is named after the ancient Roman short sword. It's sometimes called a pen when it's found washed ashore on a beach. And it's actually an internalised shell. I thought it would look cool under ×40 magnification, but actually you couldn't really see much. So let's put some other stuff under the microscope. First of all, let's go back to the beak. Here it is. And you can see there's a very visible pigment gradient. It's translucent from the wing of the beak at the bottom, and at the tip of the beak it's black, and this gradient actually represents a gradient in catechol concentration, and we think that this contributes to the stiffness of the beak, the biophysics. Next up, we have the suckers on the tentacles of the squid, so let's have a quick look at that. You can see each sucker has tiny little teeth which help it grip its prey. And lastly, let's have a look at the skin of the squid, the cuticle. And we can see these funny coloured dots, and these are chromatophores, which are cells that can change colour and help the squid camouflage itself whatever environment it finds itself in. The squid can also use its chromatophores to communicate with other squid, so you might have seen footage of Humboldt squids turning red to coordinate attacks when they're hunting in groups.